Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 91 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Now, I do normally say that this is not a supplement or this should not replace the stream of Critical Role or the videos of Critical Role, the campaign at least, for you. And for this one, I highly recommend that you go and watch the actual episode first. Just something big happens in this one, and I feel like it should be seen first and not heard in a recap. So, if you really like watching it after watching these recaps or whatever, I recommend watching that video first and then coming back and watching this in case you want any other, insight on the whole scenario, which I will be giving at the end. So yeah, if you haven't watched the episode yet, I recommend watching it first. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. We start with the party fleeing from their respective missions in order to aid the Volition and prove that they are trustworthy to them. Liliana is flying in the sky. The assassination attempt on her seemingly has failed. Otohan is on the move as well, and Gloomglut is also flying above the underground city. We start with the Infiltration team. The Infiltration team is completely invisible and pulling Ivaroa with them through the city. The voice asking, "Did she know?" And it's very familiar to them. It's Liliana. They look up and see Liliana is moving rapidly above the city. The team is trying to get back to the Volition hideout. Lana turns Pate invisible so he can scout out ahead for them. Chetney will try to lead the team back to the hideout, and with a survival check of 14, he feels like he's found the path they used to get there and starts guiding the group. Ivaroa is heavily injured and is significantly slowing the party down. Imogen gives Ivaroa a healing potion. This does speed her up a little bit. They reach the main residential area of the city. It is pure chaos. People are scrambling and yelling that they are under attack, and the soldiers are yelling, looking for anyone out of sorts to sort of interrogate. The party see a bunch of mythics leaving the center pillar, flying into the city. There's about half a dozen of them. Now we switch over to the Demolition team. FCG asks where Ira is, and Fern says she doesn't know. Ashton thinks they need to get moving, and FCG wants to heal a bit first. They quickly heal and look for a path that they took to get here. However, Ira was the one who brought them here, so they have a little bit harder of a time finding it. Fern looks out for Gloomglut, and she rolls a perception check of 23. She does see Gloomglut over the exit of the collapsed tunnel, and there is a armored figure on top of him. She also sees a bunch of mystics circling the central pillar of the city. It begins to glow, and a pulse of energy comes from it. The seeming spell is dispelled, and the invisibility on the other team is also gone. They are now all visible and themselves. FCG looks for a landmark nearby, and they see a few watchtowers very close. They head to the base of one of those. FCG tries to communicate with the other team, but the telepathic bond was also dispelled. They can no longer communicate with each other. The teams are now separated. Fern, FCG, and Ashton try to hide, and they all roll stealth. 26 from Ashton, a 4 from Fern, and a 1 from FCG. They see a group of soldiers look at them, and they dart off into an alleyway and try to hide. They feel safe. However, there's a crash above them, and they look up, and they can see the underbelly of Gloomglut, and he is looking down on them. Fern instinctually casts Charm Monster on them. Gloomglut rolls a Wisdom save, and it's a 13. Gloomglut uses a legendary resistance to make sure it makes the save. It is now focusing right on Fern. They hear a voice say, "Is that true?" Gloomglut then starts climbing down into the alley with them. Ashton tries to smash a hole in the wall that they are standing up against. Ashton hits and blows the wall to absolute pieces, creating a 6-foot hole. He yells to run inside and throws the others into the building. The hole causes Gloomglut to sort of lose balance and trip a bit and falls into the alleyway. They run through the building to the other wall on the other side of the building, and Ashton tries to smash this one as well. He does successfully smash it, allowing them to run into the open roadway on the other side. They look for another place to hide. As the other two are looking, Ashton smashes a wall of a different building that they're not going to use, trying to make a misdirection. However, Ashton hits it so hard the entire building collapses, making all the soldiers in the area look toward them. Ashton tells them to go back inside the building they just came from before, but as they go back, Gloomglut is now up and ready to go. They run to the first hole that they made. Dex saves from everybody. Fern rolls a 1, Ashton rolls an 11, and FCG rolls a 20. FCG gets into the alley, no problem. Fern and Ashton make another save against Gloomglut's Dark Fire Gaze. They both roll really, really high with a 18 from Ashton and a 20 from Fern. They both take half damage, which was 16 damage, as Gloomglut's Dark Fire Gaze hits them both. After being hit, that party starts running from Gloomglut and he follows them. Back with the other team. Imogen sees that they are now visible. She casts invisibility again at 5th level, turning everyone except herself invisible. She does put her hood up, however, and she's wearing the robes of the Vanguard to try to hide herself. The party tells Ivaroa to guide them to the surface, as that might be safer than going to the hideout. They follow the path that Ivaroa gives them. Imogen needs to make a deception check. She rolls high, shocking there, 22. No one suspects her as she moves through the city alone, seemingly. They push through the chaos, following Ivaroa's instructions. They can hear the screech of Gloomglut off in the distance. Lana looks at the Scryball and Otohan is on the ground with them, moving about. Back to the Demolition team. They find a tight alleyway that they can shimmy through. Ashton, however, is still in their elemental form, and they go underground and sort of burrow their way through, because it's easier for them to do that, or they earth glide. Gloomglut lands on the rooftops surrounding the area they're in. Zathuda yells for Fern. He says that it's fitting that his only child fights against him. She is much like her mother. Gloomglut is now looking for the party. Ashton casts Pass Without a Trace on this group. Stealth rolls. FCG gets a 12, and Ashton and Fern are both in the high 20s. Gloomglut looks down into the alleyway that they're in. However, he doesn't see them. Zathuda says that he has a mix of pride and hate for Fern. She is pure chaos. She is Fern Zathuda. Ashton, FCG, and Fern slowly move around the end of the alleyway that they're in, and it turns a little bit. They inch toward the end of the alley, and it comes to a roadway. They see soldiers running past as they sort of peek their heads out. Ashton peeks out and sees the road goes both ways, and there are other alleyways on the other side of the road, going in a bunch of different directions. They wait for the coast to be clear and dart towards another alley. However, as they cross the street, instead of going for one of the alleys, they go for a nearby door. As they get to it, they learn that it's locked and choose to dart into another alleyway. Fern says that she can turn someone into something else, and then she can turn herself into something as well, using polymorph and her beast shape. She polymorphs FCG into a slither, the worm-like creatures found on Rhodes, and she changes herself into the same thing. Now all three of them can burrow underground. They can go underground and they can all have tremor sense and feel the movement above them. They start to head back to the hideout. Fern rolls a survival check with a 28, poking her head up every so often to both breathe and look for which way to go. They get further and further away from Gloomglut as they move forward. Back with the other team. Lana needs to make a wisdom saving throw for some reason. She rolls a 15. Nothing happens from this. This crew continues following the instructions from Ivaroa. She's not doing great, having trouble breathing, and she coughs up a bit of the green liquid that she was floating inside the tube, which is nasty. The party asks Ivaroa if anything happened to her while she was inside the tube. Ivaroa says that the enemy went inside her mind, and Lana asks if she is some sort of sleeper agent now. Ivaroa says that she isn't really sure, and Imogen inside checks and feels that she's being honest, however she only rolled a 13. The team have made it to the poorer part of the town now. Orm tries to recall how to get back to the hideout, but it's hard to recall as everything sort of looks the same here. They continue to follow Ivaroa. They eventually reach a fountain. As they do, a bunch of stone pillars emerge from the ground, blocking the path that they were taking and blocking their exit. They look up and see Liliana is above them. Liliana speaks, and there seems to be some sort of offset harmony echoed to her voice. She asks, "Did you know?" Imogen, the only person that is visible at this moment, says, "Know what?" She rolls a deception check for 31. Liliana floats down, but is still about 20 feet up above Imogen. There's blood on her face and her clothes are damaged. She's angry and confused. Liliana asks why she's here then. What does she want? Imogen says that she wants to free her. Liliana says, for what? They are too far down this hole. Imogen says that her will is stronger than she thinks it is. Imogen pulls out the locket that her father gave her. Liliana floats down to Imogen, still hovering above the ground a little bit, and reaches for the locket. Imogen says she's so powerful, but is a better whole. Liliana says that she doesn't want Ludinus to know how powerful Imogen is. Imogen asks Liliana to run away with her. Liliana can't. If she's not there, others will get hurt by lewdness. Imogen says that there will be more to go after her if she doesn't go with Imogen right now. Persuasion check of 31. Liliana looks back at the city, the glass pillar pulsing with energy. Liliana says that she has to think and that she'll find Imogen later. She tells Imogen to go and pulls down the rock pillars blocking their path, and then flies up and burrows her way out of the underground. The party start to move. They get maybe 40 feet, and then they are suddenly surrounded by 5 mystics that suddenly appear. They are flying in the air. They wear extremely ornate clothing and armor. They surround the party. It seems they are surrounded by the Weave Mind. They say, "There you are," and ask who they are. Lana tries to see if these are just projections. Lana does roll really high on her Arcana check and thinks that it could be an illusion, but it's really hard to tell. The Weave Mind can, in fact, see them all, even though most of them are invisible. They say they have felt Chetney once before, and he then has to make a wisdom save. He rolls a 7. Chetney recalls the time the Red Moon took him over, and the work he put in with the Gorgine. He feels that same red pull now. The Weave Mind then say who else will join them and look to the rest of the party. The party feel as if they're being peered right through them. As the Weave Mind looks over Orem, under his breath he says, "Nana Mori, I need you right now. We need to get out of here right now." The Weave Mind looks to Imogen and says that she's come home and they're happy to have her. They say the others can stay and then change their mind and say no. They resist. They must go. Suddenly the Weave Mind disappears. Lana looks over and sees a bunch of mystics are now scanning the area looking for the party. They continue to follow the instruction of Ivaroa, eventually making it to a corkscrew tunnel going up. It seems to be an exit tunnel. We then go back to the other team. They see a flash of purple energy. It's Liliana. They watch her suddenly stop and then disappear down into the city. It was maybe 400 feet away from them. Fern and FCG want to go see where she is and to see if their friends are okay. They go over and they feel the shifting of stone nearby them, and they feel a strange pressure in the area. This pressure then ends, and Fern and FCG look up as they burrow out. They see 5 mystics in the air surrounding Imogen. Imogen is alone in this moment. They see the mythics suddenly disappear, and Imogen talks to the air for a second, and then she runs off. They can feel multiple footsteps moving as she runs. Ashton thinks it's best to hang back and follow them just in case. They see Imogen moving away from the hideout, or in the opposite direction of the hideout. Eventually, they follow the party to get to the corkscrew tunnel leading up to the surface. Back with the other team, Imogen asks if Ivaroa knows their way out to the city. She isn't quite too sure how to leave the city once she gets to the surface. This team isn't aware of the fact that the other team is digging up right beside them within the wall. Fern decides to drop her wild shape, and Ashton joins them as well. They are now all in the corkscrew tunnel going up. Fern asks what they're going to do. FCG is still a slither within the wall. They talk about what they're going to do for a while. Ashton tells them that Fern knows the way back to the hideout. However, during this conversation, Chetney finds an offshoot tunnel and goes and gets a view of the city. He finds a window looking out to it. However, there are a bunch of pillars blocking most of his vision, but does see the main pillar off in the distance. However, looking over the city, he doesn't see a way back to the hideout. Imogen then sends a message to Rishana, dropping the invisibility spell. They say, "We have Ivaroa. The city is unsafe. How is the safe house right now? If it's not safe as well, we can take Ivaroa with us." Rishana says the safe house is a hot spot right now. They should gather their allies and take Ivaroa with them. They think it might be best to dig their way out a bit, but they are still way too deep to let Ashton do that because it'll take way too long. Imogen asks if Fern can polymorph again so they can make some sort of digging creature, but when they think about it for a minute, they don't really know anything big enough to make that much of an impact. They continue upward towards the city. They ask Ivaroa if she wants to see the Promised Blue, and she says whatever makes sense for them right now. They run up, 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 and up this corkscrew. Eventually, Fern drops FCG's polymorph so they can run with everybody else. FCG heals Ivaroa again for 10 more HP, and suddenly a shadow forms behind them and then suddenly vanishes. Lautner looks at the scry ball and sees Otohan is very close. Ashton tries to collapse the tunnel behind them. Imogen casts Mage Armor on herself. Laudna casts a mirror image on herself, and Ashen swings twice, blocking the path behind them as he destroys it. He rolls a d20 to see if more of the tunnel collapses on them than was initially planned, and with a 3 or less, it will. However, Ashen rolls a 10. The tunnel doesn't collapse on them, and they continue moving. Laudna looks at the scry ball and sees that Otohan has stopped for a second, and then the ball suddenly shifts around, and it looks like she is now going to cut them off from the front. They are moving as fast as they can, however, Eva Roa is rather slow and is slowing them down. The scry ball looks like Otohan is now in front of them for sure. Ashen Earth glides around to look for other tunnels that they can use to potentially escape her. He finds other offshoot tunnels, some unfinished and some lead back to the city. The party chooses to go into another one of these offshoot tunnels to get away from Otohan. Orm takes the lead. He looks around for a second and sees one of these shadows running silently through one of the offshoot tunnels. It starts moving towards them, and then suddenly it gains color. Otohan is here. She has traded places with one of her shadows. She pulls out her blades and says that they are annoyingly slippery. Matt now pulls up a map, and of course, I'm always jealous as fuck of these dope looking maps. Initiative rolls. Orm with a 24, Laudna with a 21, Chetney with an 18, Asher with a 13, Fern with a 10, FCG with a 9, and Imogen with a 4. Orm is up first. He is the closest to Otohan. He rolls underneath and attacks Otohan's backpack. He hits with a critical with the glass weapon, which has an improved critical, so he makes it a disarming attack. He also casts Hex on her. He deals 38 damage to the backpack. The blade doesn't shatter. He swings again and hits again. This one also crits with a natural 18. That is the improved glass weapon, like I mentioned. And he does 18 more damage to the backpack as well. The blade still doesn't break. He swings again for the backpack, however, this time it misses. The backpack seems to have been reinforced from the last time they fought her. The Hex gave her disadvantage on strength checks. Otohan uses a legendary action. She uses a telekinetic control on Orm. He fails the save, and Otohan picks him up and throws him down one of the empty tunnels. Laudna is up. She summons her Hellhound as a bonus action. Laudna then casts Bane on Otohan. Otohan fails. This now gives Otohan a minus d4 on both attack rolls and saving throws. Laudna then backs up a little bit. Otohan uses another legendary action, and she dashes toward Chetney. It is then Otohan's turn. She swings 4 times for Chetney. She hits with a 29, even with Bane, which is fucking scary, and she deals 27 damage to Chetney. Chetney needs to make a strength saving throw, and he fails and is now prone thanks to Otohan's psychic abilities, or psionic abilities. Her second attack hits, dealing 24 more damage. Her third attack hits, dealing 22 more damage. And her last attack hits, dealing 23 damage. Chetney has 2 HP left. Otohan then uses her offhand weapon to try to attack Chetney, but misses. Thank God. Otohan then action surges. She swings 4 more times at Chetney, or as many times as she needs to for now. Her first attack hits, dealing 14 more damage, and Chetney is now down. She swings again and hits Chetney again, dealing 2 death saves to Chetney. She takes a third strike towards Chetney, and Otohan, with delight on her face, carves into the small gnome that is Chetney Pokapee. She looks at Imogen and plunges the blade into Chetney's chest. Chetney's wolf form drops and says, "For 400 years, I looked up at the moon. Not a bad place to go. Chetney Pokapee is dead." Otohan then moves over to Fern, and she swings for Fern with her last attack. She hits Fern, dealing 24 damage to her. A strength saving throw from Fern. She rolls a 10 and is knocked prone. Chetney would be up, but now it's Ashen. He burrows underneath Otohan Thule and bursts out of the ground, swinging his hammer at her. He hits, dealing 23 damage, and then knocks her 5 feet back away from Fern. Ashen triggers his Density Well ability, but Otohan Thule saves. Ashen then tries to break a bit of the wall and try to make it fall on top of Otohan. He succeeds. It falls on her, but she's able to make a dex saving throw and only takes half damage. But she is, however, knocked prone. Ashen then shifts into the wall, and now Otohan uses another legendary action. She dashes up. She dashes to stand up, and then she looks at Imogen and says, "They have enough powerful Ruidas born. Losing one won't hurt them," and she rushes over to her. Fern is up. She sees Chetney and screams and transforms and activates her Spark of Roshan. Travis at this point leaves the table. She takes her elemental form, and then she flies behind Otohan, flanking her with Imogen. FCG is up. They move over to Chetney and cast Revivify. They say, Chetney, you haven't become a legend yet. We still need you. FCG looks over the small dead gnome and thinks of all the sad children who will never know Chetney's toys if he's not brought back here. FCG rolls a d20 and adds their spellcasting modifier and rolls a 22. Chetney takes a breath in and is now alive. Revivify works on the moon. Chetney's resurrection DC is now 11, however, because every time they die it goes up by 1. FCG moves into the open and gives Imogen a bonded blessing. The Hellhound is up. The Hound blitzes over to Otohan. He goes for a bite on Otohan but misses. Otohan then uses a legendary action to swim at Imogen and hits, dealing 24 damage. Imogen is knocked prone. It is now Imogen's turn. Her eyes flash white. She uses telekinesis to pull the backpack away from Otohan. The backpack fails the save and is ripped from the back of Otohan Thule. The backpack is slammed into the ceiling and is thrown towards Ashton. Imogen stands and then she quicken spells and casts Shocking Grasp on Otohan Thule. She hits, dealing 14 damage. Orem is now up. He runs up as far as he can. He sees Chetney and then Misty steps over to Otohan. He bait and switches with Imogen, giving her 5 extra AC. He swings and crits, dealing 23 damage. He swings again, hits again, 14 more damage. Swings once again, crits again, dealing 28 more damage. But Otohan uses one of her reactions to reduce the damage by 12. The blade during all of this doesn't shatter. Laudna is up. She casts Blight on Otohan at 5th level. With the Hellhound nearby Otohan, she has disadvantage and fails, but uses a legendary resistance. She still takes half damage from this, however, so she takes 25 damage from the attack. Laudna then quicken spells and casts Eldritch Blast, hitting all 3, dealing 42 damage total from the Eldritch Blast. She should keep doing this for the rest of the fight. Otohan then uses a legendary action to try to hit Imogen, but misses, because that +5 was clutch. Otohan is up. She swings for Imogen, hitting the first attack, dealing 26 damage. Imogen is then knocked prone yet again. Otohan swings and then misses the second one. Otohan swings again, critting, but Laudna Silvery Barbs her. Otohan still deals 21 damage with the attack. Otohan then swings again with her offhand, trying to hit Imogen. Successfully does, knocking Imogen out. Otohan then turns and runs for Laudna. Orem and Fern both get attack of opportunities against her. Orem and Fern both crit. Fern deals 16 damage. Orem does 22 damage. His blade still doesn't shatter. Otohan then swings for Laudna, but hits a mirror image. Action Surge. Swings again, hitting a mirror image. Swings again, hitting the last mirror image. Swings again, attack, hits, and crits on Laudna. She takes 26 damage. She needs to make a strength saving throw. She rolls a 13 and is knocked prone. Chetney is up. He stands. He moves so he can see Imogen, and then he misty steps over to her and pours a healing potion into her mouth. He then tries to move back as far as he can, back to where he started. Ashton is up. He is next to the backpack and thinks about it for a second, but he then decides to earth glide over as far as he can to Otohan and holds his action to hit her as she enters his range, as he's a little bit too far out of it. Otohan uses a legendary action to attack Laudna again. She hits Laudna and deals 28 more damage. Laudna at this point loses Bane, which hurts. Fern is up. She moves over to Otohan using cunning action to do so, and as she does, she uses Blight at 6th level. Otohan saves and still takes half damage. Ashley at this moment in time is fucking pissed because she rolls 3 ones on her damage and she deals a total of 18, which is kind of rough. Otohan then uses a legendary action to swing for Laudna again, hitting, dealing 30 more damage. FCG is up. FCG steps up and casts Mass Cure Wounds on everyone but Orem, healing for 23 hit points. And they give Ashton a bonded blessing. The Hellhound is up. It moves towards Otohan Thule and goes for a bite, but misses. Imogen is up. She stands and casts Psychic Lance. Otohan saves with a natural 20. She still takes half damage, however. Being incapacitated would have been fucking lovely. She then uses telekinetic pull to try to pull Otohan towards Ashen, but she saves on that as well. Imogen then runs away from Otohan to create some space. Orym is up. He runs up and jumps for Otohan Thule and tries to attack midair. He swings and hits, dealing 9 damage. He swings again and crits for 21 damage. The blade still doesn't shatter. He swings again for his last attack, but unfortunately it misses. He then uses Second Wind to heal some hit points back. He then moves away from Otohan to create some space for Ashen. Otohan hits Orym on the exit, dealing 26 more damage to Orym. Orym is then also knocked prone. Otohan then uses a legendary reaction, going to hit Laudna again. She hits, dealing 24 damage. Laudna is up. She stands up and uses the Hunger of the Shadow Shard. Delilah in her head said, "Feed us, darling," but unfortunately the attack misses. She then quicken spells and casts Blight at 5th level. Otohan fails and takes 48 fucking damage. Laudna then runs from Otohan a little bit, and there is no reaction, so she is safe. Otohan is up. She lets out a scream, and her exalted form powers up, and she is now emerging lightning. Her hair is all staticky and floating like Imogen does. And a quick order of note, she now takes basically half damage from fucking everything, and she gets both of her action surges back. She is pulled toward Ashen, however. Ashen then instantly swings as he was holding his action. He misses the first attack as Otohan's AC also went up. He swings for her again, this time hitting, dealing 25 damage. Her eyes are now completely white. There is a sound of static filling the room. She then swings for Ashton. She hits, dealing 18 damage to Ashen. She swings again, hitting him again, dealing 15 damage. She swings again and hits him again for 17 more damage. She then uses her final attack on Ashen, but Ashen uses erratic defense, having a lot of the damage. He only takes 6 damage from it, and Ashen pushes Otohan Thule away from him. Otohan then uses one of her psychic abilities to fly away and lands next to Imogen. She then attacks Imogen, dealing 25 damage to her with her offhand weapon. Imogen is then knocked prone. Action Surge. She hits Imogen, dealing 8 damage, as FCG takes half of that. Otohan swings again, knocking Imogen out. Otohan then runs over to Chetney, swings, dealing 25 damage, knocking Chetney out. Otohan then finally runs over to FCG and attacks FCG, hitting, dealing 17 damage. Chetney is up. Death save from Chetney. He fails 1 death save. Otohan uses a legendary action to hit FCG, dealing 18 damage to them. Ashen is up. He rages. He then runs up to Otohan Thule, getting advantage with FCG. He swings, critting, dealing 32 damage as she resists most of the damage. So the 32 was about as good as he could get out of that. Ashen swings again, this time only dealing 10 damage. He then moves Otohan towards the rest of the party. Ashen then moves behind her again to flank again. Otohan uses a legendary action and hits FCG for 26 more damage. Fern is up. She casts Scorching Ray at 5th level, so there will be 6 rays and only 3 of them hit, and it only deals 10 damage. She moves up towards the fighting. Otohan then uses a legendary reaction on FCG, hitting, knocking out FCG. FCG is then pushed away from the fight. FCG is up. Death save 19. They have 1 save. The Hellhound is up. He runs up to Otohan and goes for a bite but misses. Imogen is up. She rolls a death save. Natural 20. She has 1 hit point. Orym is up. He stands up and pulls out Seedling, using Grasping Vine to pull himself closer to Ashton. He then swings for Otohan and misses the first attack, hits the second attack, dealing 12 damage. He swings again for the last one, hits, and only does 8 damage. Laudna is up. She casts Wither and Bloom on 3rd level. Con save from Otohan. She fails. She lets FCG roll 2 of their hit dice to heal, plus her spellcasting modifier, which FCG heals for 16 HP. Laudna uses Empowered Spell to deal more damage to Otohan, but she only takes 6 damage because of all the resistances. Laudna moves up a bit to get a bit closer to the action. She then quickens spells and casts Eldritch Blast at Otohan. She hits 2 of them, dealing 8 damage total. Otohan is up. She swings for Orym, dealing 21 damage. Otohan swings again for Orym, critting, dealing 36 damage. She swings again, hitting, dealing for 17 more damage, and her last attack hits, dealing 24 damage. Orym is still standing. She then uses a bonus action to drink a supreme healing potion, healing for 66 HP. That's in the neighborhood of like 132 or something like that. I don't know math, but that is a lot of HP because she halves everything. So, like, you need to do 132 damage. I was on the money with my math. Let's go. Chetney is up, death save 13 on the roll. He now has 1 fail, 1 success. Otohan then uses a legendary action to attack Orym, knocking Orym out. Ashen is up, bonus action drinking a healing potion himself for 16 HP. Ashen swings, critting, dealing 23 damage. Ashen swings again, but misses. Otohan then uses a legendary action to hit Ashen, dealing 18 damage. Fern is up. She casts Aura of Life. Everyone who starts their turn within 30 feet of her gets 1 hit point at the start of their turn. Otohan uses a legendary action to hit Fern and hits, dealing 17 damage. Otohan takes 2 fire damage from this. However, Fern must make a con save, but the save is doubled thanks to the offhanded weapon of Otohan Thule, and she rolls a 10. Aura of Life is gone. FCG is up. They flip their coin and ask the Changebringer to run or to fight. The coin lands on its side, meaning that she can't really tell him what to do in this moment. FCG then uses Mass Cure Wounds at 6th level again, healing everyone for 23 hit points with the exception of Fern. She seems fine. FCG stands and begins to run away from Otohan Thule. They give Orym a bonded blessing, and then suddenly FCG turns red. The Hellhound is up. He tries to bite but misses. Imogen is up. She casts a sending spell to her mother. She says, Otohan has us in the tunnels. It's about to be over. Help. She responds, I'll try to find you. I don't know how fast I can get there. I'll try to find you. Imogen takes off her circlet. She chooses to pretend to stay dead, and it's now Orym's turn. He stands up. He rolls a 26 to hit and deals 10 damage. He misses his second attack and his third attack. Orym then drinks a healing potion. Laudna is up. She tries to cast Phantasmal Force, but unfortunately, Otohan saves. She then quicken spells and casts Eldritch Blast. 2 of the Eldritch Blasts hit. One of them happens to be a crit. She deals 3 damage and 6 damage respectively. Otohan is up. She swings for Orym, hits with a 21. She swings and hits again, knocking Orym again. She then turns to Fern and swings and misses as Fern casts Shield. She then swings for Ashen and hits, dealing 18 damage. She then action surges. She swings for Ashen again and hits, dealing 17 more damage. She swings and hits again, knocking Ashton. However, he uses a Barbarian feature to stay up. Otohan bonus action swings with her offhand weapon, hitting, knocking Ashton out permanently this time. Otohan then moves over to Imogen, taking an attack of opportunity from the Hellhound and Fern. Fern deals 5 damage. The Hellhound misses. Otohan swings for Imogen, dealing 23 damage to her. Imogen tries to make it look like she's dead. Deception check. She rolls an 18. Otohan then jumps over to FCG. Chetney is up. He stands and walks as far as he can towards Otohan. Chetney takes out Turmoil and casts Shatter with it on Otohan. Otohan con save fails. She takes 9 damage. Ashton makes a death save. He rolls a 13. Otohan uses a legendary action to attack FCG, dealing 22 damage. Fern is up. She moves towards Imogen and casts Blight on Otohan Thule at 5th level. Con save. Otohan saves this time. She still takes half damage, and it was already halved, so it only does 12 damage for a 5th level spell. Otohan uses a legendary action, hitting FCG for 13 more damage. FCG is still up. FCG is now up in the turn order. In their anger, FCG, they charge Otohan Thule and cast Guiding Bolt on themselves to start an explosion. For the first time, FCG is aware that they are made of wires and metal, but they are alive. They feel joy and love from their friends. FCG rolls 20d8. The total is 79. FCG sees Bertrand, Dorian, and Frida. They feel connected to everyone. The connections are all different, but they all matter. And it makes every day a smiley day. FCG's eyes that were red fade to white. They begin to spark. Otohan tries to run, but FCG grabs her. A massive explosion goes off, and the entire party feels the pull. A nuclear explosion sort of goes off. There's a crater left behind. FCG is all over the place. Otohan is a charred, lifeless body.
Think about heroic sacrifice. Is it doesn't just give meaning to the person in the moment. For instance, inspiration we have to carry with us. As this moment of tragedy washes over you, in ways that maybe some of you already knew or are realizing right now. But the stakes are realer now than ever. And this loss can't be in vain.
The dust settles. They can hear shouting. Soldiers are coming up behind them. The party must keep going. Those who were down are helped up by the others. Chenny gets Ivaroa. She apologizes for what happened. Fern grabs what's left of FCG. Ashton gets the coin of the Changebringer. It is embedded in the wall toward the exit they need to take. It's like a sign. There are still parts of FCG. His head, the lenses are cracked. The torso is mostly gone. Chetney grabs the backpack of Otohan Thule. They throw Otohan into the hole, even her weapons. Imogen thanks Letters one last time. They grab the staff they need to teleport, as it wasn't destroyed because it's a very powerful magical weapon. Ashton collapses the tunnel behind them as they leave. They eventually reach the surface. They see Liliana at the exit. She takes Imogen's hand and says that she's sorry. They look up and see Xander above, and they know the stakes are clear. The session ends here. So there you have it, episode 91 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. This is a insane episode. One of the most intense fights I think we've had in a long time. And honestly, one of the most intense fights of like any campaign. It's going to be one that will be remembered for a while, as we had not one, not two, but three, four people drop at one point, and then a sacrifice play, which was something that we've known is a possibility with FCG from like the fucking beginning of this campaign. So for it to finally happen, to FCG to sort of give everything up in this moment for their friends, their loved ones, it is a powerful moment, and that's why I recommend you go watch it. I know most of you probably will anyway, but I recommend watching it first, like I said at the beginning of the video, because that is a moment you need to experience with your own eyes. That is a beautiful moment. The entire table is in shambles when it's happening. I was watching it last night and I was fucking dying. I was so close to just bursting into tears because it was such a powerful moment for FCG. This episode was fantastic. The whole running away stuff, turning into slithers and being able to sort of travel underground, that group being able to like watch the moment of like the Mystics sort of surrounding the other team, them going up the corkscrew, realizing Otohan is really close by. Otohan is a fucking monster. They got rid of her like half her toolkit, and that was still what she was doing to the party. Destroying the backpack was so clutch. I, for the entirety of this campaign, was so on the idea that if they didn't sort of split the party and try to like run and somehow try to attack in their first encounter, I was like, oh yeah, they could probably take her. I'd take that back so bad. They could not take her. She is a fucking monster. Like, straight up monster. She is so brutal. Imagine 3 more of her popping out, even though they only had 1 HP. And then imagine she was moving around the battlefield so quick, but just imagine her being able to teleport between each of the echoes. Like, oh, dude, that would have been bad. That was so clutch, getting rid of that fucking backpack. Anyway, this episode was stressful. It was awesome. It was dope, heartbreaking. I don't know how many words I can use to describe it. This might be one of my favorite episodes of Campaign 3. And I said that about the last one. So the episodes in the 90s are fucking killing it right now. And it's hurting me so bad. I'm so interested into seeing what Sam's going to bring to the table. If we're going to see Sam next week, what's going to happen with FCG, what they're going to do. I would imagine they're probably going to try to go to D. Maybe maybe Sam could play D. Who knows? I think there's a million possibilities. I even think Terry could come back and be like the character he plays. But anyway, this will be the end of the episode here. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.